this. Kristen Jacobson.
Have you ever finished your to-do list and still felt like a failure? You hit the goals, you stay ahead, you work hard, and when it's finally time to stop, your brain just won't shut up. You feel restless, guilty, and anxious, like you should be doing something, really anything. If you've ever asked yourself, why can't overachievers relax? Then this is for you, because this isn't about discipline. It's not about motivation. It's about what your brain learned to do a long time ago. And unless we understand the neurological causes of overachieving, you're going to keep burning yourself out and blaming yourself for it. So let's start with what's actually going on in your head. When you complete a task, big or small, your brain gives you a little reward, dopamine, that good job feeling. It's supposed to help you stay motivated. But if you're someone who's always performing, always producing, your brain gets hooked. It builds strong pathways that tie safety to productivity. So you feel okay when you're achieving, and then when you stop, that okayness disappears. That's the real brain science behind workaholic tendencies, which means rest doesn't feel safe, not because you're lazy, but because your brain thinks doing nothing equals danger. Here's where anxiety kicks in. When you stop being productive, your stress hormones go up. Your nervous system goes, oh no, something's wrong. So what do? You get back to work. Boom, dopamine and relief. Your brain loves this little trick, so it keeps repeating it. And that's the neurological basis of overachiever anxiety, also known as high-functioning anxiety. And this loop, it doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if it's 11 p.m. It only knows one thing, that doing equals safety. Now let's layer perfectionism into this, which is super common with high-functioning anxiety. If your brain's internal alarm system is always on, it doesn't just hate rest, it actually distrusts it. So even when you're off, your brain is scanning. Did I miss something? Is that good enough? What else needs fixing? That's perfectionism and rest difficulty in action. And yes, it's exhausting. You may procrastinate because things never feel ready, but then the second you sit still, you feel like you're falling behind. That's why when perfectionists struggle to rest, it's a real brain deep thing, not just a personality quirk. Now here's the hard part. This doesn't always feel like goals. Sometimes it feels like obsession. So you keep going because stopping feels just unbearable. You check things twice, you stay up late for just one more tweak, you follow rigid routines, and the idea of doing less, nope, not safe. This is why when high performers can't stop working, it becomes a real problem. Your achiever brain can't shut off because it's convinced the world will fall apart if it does. And this is reinforced by our hustle culture and constantly making ourselves available. So let's talk about burnout. Not I'm tired burnout. I mean the kind where your brain feels foggy, your body's dragging, and your motivation is gone. This happens when pressure outweighs any sense of reward or rest. And if you're constantly stuck in that go, go, go loop, then burnout isn't a question of if, it's when. This is how high achiever burnout sneaks up on people who seem like they're doing great, until they're not. So now what? You're not going to try harder to relax. That doesn't work. It actually makes it worse. Instead, you need to teach your brain that rest is safe, which means you leave things a little unfinished on purpose. I know, that sounds terrifying, but just start with something that's not super high stakes. Then you need to schedule rest like you schedule work. Even 5 minutes counts. You want to link rest to your values, so think of it as fuel, not failure. And practice sitting with that urge to fix, tweak, perfect, and not acting on it. This is what it takes to rewire a brain that's constantly stuck in productivity addiction. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first, but it gets easier. And then your nervous system can finally start to calm down because it equates rest with safety. Here's the truth, it isn't your fault. You didn't choose to be wired this way. You adapted to survive, and somewhere along the way, you learned that productivity is equal to love or approval or safety. And that learning sticks with you, but it's not necessarily forever, and it doesn't have to run the show anymore. This isn't about being broken, It's about having a brain that overdid a useful skill and is now sabotaging you, and so it needs to learn something new. So if you've been wondering why, as an overachiever, you can't relax, this is the answer. You're not weak, you're not lazy, you've got a brain that learned to go hard and never pause. But that same brain can also learn how to rest. So if this landed for you, hit like, leave a comment with what part hit hardest, and make sure you subscribe because we're going to dig deeper into this and you don't need to burn out to be excellent. Thanks for watching, and now go do something radical. Nothing at all.
Therapist Kristen Jacobson